Hey, today on Cory's Americana, we're going to talk about why you're not as bad as you think you are. Maybe why you're not improving and ways you can improve. My special guest today is Zach,
Having me.
somewhat formally trained musician on variable instruments, and he's going to share his insight as well. All right, so I'm here with Zach. Zach, tell me a little bit about your experience with music.
Yeah, so I started playing trumpet back in
Classic.
Yeah, I started from the 6th grade and I played all the way to about a year in college. So, what is that? About
25, 60 years, somewhere in there.
maybe, yeah.
What do you mess around with now?
So I still play trumpet. I play a little bit of drums. I was never able to pick up guitar, so.
Well, there's
my
one
hat's off
behind
to
me if you want to pick it up.
Yeah, so my hat's off to you. It's really hard. I could never get can never get it. But yeah, my two main things are trumpet and drums still.
Right on. Rhythm. You got me beat on rhythm. I have, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm about a 0. So
Nice.
there's that. So what we're talking about today is why maybe you don't think you're as good as you actually are. And a fault that a lot of people come into is they're comparing themselves to the wrong people. So I'm primarily a folk acoustic guitar player. And I can only speak from stringed instruments because I don't know anything about, obviously, winded instruments. That's not my thing, especially drums. But as guitar players go, I'm more of a folk player. So, in fact, when my last guest, Teho Kim, was here, he handed me his electric guitar, and I literally stared at it like this was a new instrument. I had no clue what was going on. I've been playing guitar for 20 plus years, and I was lost. So maybe step one is don't compare yourself to the wrong people. I'm a folk player, so I compare myself to other folk guitar players, and I think I stack up pretty well. So what are some of your thoughts on it as well? I have more points, but I want to let you get a word in.
Yeah, like you said, you're absolutely right. As a brass player,
Brass, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, so luckily I was able to dip my fingers in every single type of music.
Sure.
We have mariachi music, we have jazz, we have classical. And all of those, there's so many variables that go into
Sure,
playing.
yeah.
Your articulation, your styles. The way you're not counting just a 4/4 measure. You're swinging.
Those jazz measures, man, they get you,
Yeah,
dude.
the emphasis on beats 2 and 4.
Yeah, 5/8.
Yeah.
Who cares? That's dumb.
Yeah, and there's like you said, there's just so many variables. So you can't be a classical player comparing yourself to a jazz player.
Sure, yeah.
Right
on. And maybe comparing yourself to the wrong people, but also not comparing your strengths versus strengths and weaknesses versus weaknesses. So one of my weaknesses is probably shredding. I play acoustic guitar. I don't shred very well on acoustic. There are definitely some people that can do pretty well at it. I'm not one of those people. So me comparing myself to someone who plays metal, yeah, I'm not going to stack up. But I can tell you from experience, I'll put an acoustic guitar in that metal player's hand. He's going to look pretty lost.
Yep.
And it's not to diminish his or my skill. That's just saying the skills aren't necessarily translatable per style. And to me, an acoustic and electric guitar are two different instruments. They may have the same scale, the same strings, the same concept, but they're different instruments. You can't play them the same. Acoustics are much less forgiving, and electrics are obviously much more exciting, and you're going to play them with a different style, a different tempo, a different timbre.
Yeah, same goes true for brass instruments. Like I'm gonna go back to playing the trumpet.
Sure.
You still got your B flat trumpet, you got your C trumpet, piccolo trumpets. It's the same concept.
I just thought there was one trumpet.
Yeah, no, there's
Okay.
many out there. You got your, but yeah, there's just so many different types, and although they're all played the same, the styles are just so different, and
Sure.
you can't, you have to master all of them.
Yeah. What about some ways to improve? Obviously, my first tip is to open with a routine that is the same, but also dynamic in difficulty. I've basically had the same warm-up routine when I pick up a guitar that I've had for maybe the last 5 years. I run through certain pentatonic scales or practice certain difficult chord shapes that are hard to master, especially a lot of jazz chord shape. I mean, it's muscle memory is completely different from folk music. So I try to come up with a routine that maybe the first 5 minutes of me playing guitar, I'm doing this routine, I'm warming up my fingers. If you think you don't have to stretch your fingers to play guitar, you're crazy. I've cramped many times in front of people. What are some of your tips on improving as a musician?
Like you said, you're pretty much spot on.
Sure.
For me, it's going back to your fundamentals. Practicing your scales. For me, trumpet fingers, you got to get your fingerings down because you can't go on stage and expect to play these crazy notes and your fingers are stiff.
They're not there. Yeah.
It's like you said, it's all about your warm ups. The fundamentals play a huge part in how you are as a performer. Barely starting out and professionally,
it's a lot like football players. Their fundamentals never change from Pop Warner all the way to NFL. They're still doing the same things, ingraining these fundamentals that should always. I mean, there are UFC fighters that swear fundamentals is all you need to be a great fighter, and I think that's also true with instruments.
Yep. Yeah, like you hit the nail on the head on that one. For me, it's just your fundamentals, going back to where you came from and mastering those before you can move on to professional excerpts.
Sure. I think maybe my last tip, and then you're going to do your last tip. Okay? Yeah. So get one in your head. Get ready.
All
right. My last tip would be when you start something, finish something. I've had some daunting pieces of music placed in front of me that a day, maybe 2 days into it, I'm like, well, I can't do this. This isn't for me. I'm just not born to play this piece. Stick with it. Even if you get through it and you grade yourself a C+, okay, you got through it. It's even with writing songs. Write the bad songs too. If you don't write them, they're going to stick with you forever. Write the song, finish it, throw it in the garbage. That's fine. Now you can move on from that song. Same thing, maybe learning somebody else's piece of music. Get through it. Do as well as you possibly can at your current talent level. Put it aside. Come back to it in a year, see how you've improved. I guarantee it's drastic, and that's one of those measurements that you're not necessarily comparing yourself to another musician. You're comparing yourself to yourself, and makes you feel a little bit better about things sometimes.
Yeah, so my tip's a little bit different on this one. So my tip is listen to the piece.
I am bad about that. When I learn a song, I refuse to listen to it.
Yeah, and that's something I was always good at. Because I hate reading music. It's boring. I'm looking at black and white.
Sure.
But when I listen to it, I can listen to how it's played. What's the emotion going into this song? It's not just the black and white lettering again.
Sure. Yep.
But that's my tip.
Learn the character of the song.
Exactly.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of orchestral pieces that it has meaning behind it. Like overseas, they're at war.
So emotional aspect to
these
it.
Emotions into the song.
Sure.
And that's something you got to understand. So I've always been really good at listening to the song and listening how it's played, and that'll help develop your style as well.
I might need to take that. If I'm learning the song, I listen to it one time until I've kind of got it in my head, and I refuse. If I listen to it again and again, I'm just going to play their music instead of something I'm coming up with, and then it ends up being something completely different that is basically garbage when I'm done. So maybe that's a tip I need to hold on to.
And that also goes into broadening your listening.
Sure. Yeah.
However many people you want to listen to, it'll help you develop your own style as well.
Yeah, for sure. Melting pot.
Yep.
Well, that's about it. You got anything else for the fans?
Oh, no. I really appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure, my man. All right, love you guys.